channel Students Homeopathy and let's learn together. The value and importance of robots philosophy in homeopathic literature cannot be ignored easily. H.A. Roberts in his book The Principles and Art of Cure by Homeopathy explains different complicated concepts of homeopathy in a very simple manner. So let's discuss a very good chapter from Roberts' philosophy, that is Susceptibility, the 17th chapter of Roberts' philosophy. Before that, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel Students Homeopathy, please subscribe to it now by clicking the button at the right corner below. Also click on the bell icon and select all so that you will not miss any of our informative, educational and interesting videos on homeopathy. So, Roberts starts the chapter by quoting, "Every organism or everything that has life is more or less gets influenced by its circumstances or environment." This means a plant or animal which survive easily in a particular or specific environment cannot grow or survive easily in a different environment. Roberts explains this with the examples of vegetable and animal kingdom. So, let's consider some examples of vegetable or plant kingdom first. Roberts explains, the flora of plants that can grow in the higher altitudes cannot grow near the ocean. Also, we can consider the rivers. Means, the plants which can grow easily near the sea will get difficult to survive in the mountains. He further explains this by the example of Horticulturists of Connecticut. Connecticut is a place in the northeastern part of the United States of America. So, the Horticulturists of Connecticut tried to grow peaches in the particular area, and afterwards, it was found that they failed because the soil lacked potash. Here, Roberts wants to point out that how even a particular element in the soil, which present in the soil of specific area, can play an important role in the growth of plants. From this, it can be concluded that the survival of plants is greatly influenced by the environment. Next, he comes to the example of the animal kingdom. He tells that animals from the certain parts of the world develop peculiarities of their own which are entirely different from their close relatives elsewhere. They can withstand or adapt in that particular location, or it can be said that they develop protective immunity against their native environmental conditions, whereas they will struggle or they will be susceptible in other places. For example, the polar bear is immune to or can survive easily in the very cold conditions of Antarctica, but they will be susceptible or soon succumb to the influence of warm climates. Similarly, the Bengal tiger lives easily in the humidity of the Indian jungles, whereas they will be susceptible to the cold climates and will not able to survive. So, in this way, he wants to point out that plants and animals or every organism is greatly influenced by its circumstances or the environment. Therefore, he defines susceptibility primarily as the reaction of the organism to external and internal influences. Then he tells that we have seen this influence in the example of lower animals. Now, let's consider the human beings. The susceptibility can be illustrated in a better way in the humans. We have seen this very frequently that the humans are susceptible to climatic conditions and environment. One person will thrive in a rigorous climate, whereas another will become seriously ill. One will thrive in dampness to which another would succumb. Altitude affects some individual kindly and some adversely. The seesaw improves one man's condition while it makes another man ill. One easily digests and assimilates a certain kind of food while another finds the same food indigestible. So, it is said that one man's meat is another man's poison. He further tells that the human beings are susceptible to infection and contagion in varying degrees. One man will become infected in contact with the diseased individual while another will experience no ill effects whatever. In homeopathic drug proving also, some people are capable of making a wonderful proving of a drug, whereas others will show no reaction whatever. So, all this reaction, or we can tell different reaction in different people, are due to susceptibility. So next comes susceptibility as vacuum. Further explaining susceptibility, he mentions that it is an expression of a vacuum in the individual. Here, vacuum means which can attract and pull the things. He illustrates this by comparing the desire for food. We feel hungry when our body needs food. So, susceptibility here attracts and pulls the things that are on the same plane of vibration as per the want in the body or which are most needed for the body. To explain this further, Robert quotes Dr. J.J. Garth Wilkinson. In his writing Epidemic Man and His Vegetation, Dr. Wilkinson tells that suppose in the spread of scarlet fever, a man catches scarlet fever from another because the man is vis minor or weaker and the disease is vis major or stronger, whereas his neighbor not attacked with scarlet fever as he is stronger. So here it can be said that the first person caught the disease mainly as he is weaker, not just due to the infecting agent. It was the vacuum in him which attracted the disease. So this vacuum or susceptibility involves the attitude or reaction of the organism to the internal and external circumstances. He further tells, in regard to treatment, the homeopathic application of a remedy is an illustration of meeting the susceptibility and filling the vacuum that is present in the sick individual. Next, coming to degrees of susceptibility. So, here a question that may arise is the intensity or degree of susceptibility remains the same or fixed for a healthy person or a patient. Robert tells that susceptibility varies in degree in different patients, also varies at different times in the same patient. Next, susceptibility in children. He tells that the miasmatic influence or miasmatic deficiency is more in childhood, so the susceptibility is more or extreme in childhood. And due to this attractive force of susceptibility, we observe more number of contagious diseases in children. The attractive force of susceptibility attracts the disease on the same plane of vibration and which corrects the miasmatic deficiency and the child becomes immune to the future attacks of the same condition. Next, coming to artificial and natural susceptibility. In homeopathic drug proving, the action of the remedy on a healthy individual produces an artificial susceptibility, whereas the susceptibility of the sickness is the natural susceptibility. The application of the homeopathic remedy in sickness satisfies this natural susceptibility, and the susceptibility is greatly increased or accentuated in sickness. No matter how little reaction of the remedy develops in the proving on a healthy individual, the susceptibility is greatly accentuated in sickness. A patient may be susceptible to several remedies, but the greatest susceptibility is manifest in the most similar, in other words, the similimum. Next comes conservation of susceptibility in health. As we know, susceptibility can be increased, diminished or destroyed. So, it becomes compulsory for the physician to recognize, conserve and utilize normal or natural susceptibility. The normal susceptibility can be affected by physical environments, foods, remedies and toxic agencies. We should not use any agent or adopt any procedure that would destroy or diminish the power of susceptibility. The status of health depends upon the normal susceptibility and reaction. As the main aim of the physician is to conserve the natural susceptibility, conservation of natural susceptibility in the organism will lead to act defensively against a toxin, contagion or infection, and this susceptibility will react constructively to food and drink or to the curative remedy. So next, coming to susceptibility in sickness. As we have already discussed, the susceptibility in sickness is greatly exaggerated. So we must be very careful and we should not do anything to impair it. And we should remember that through this exaggerated reaction, we found our clue to the similar remedy. In sickness, it is essential to remember that it is only in the administration of a similar remedy that susceptibility is satisfied. All our efforts must be guided by this one question: does the remedy satisfy the demand of this exaggerated susceptibility? Medicines or preparation introduced into the organism either by mouth or by injection into the bloodstream that have no basis of similarity to the susceptibility of the patient acts as destructive to the restoration of normal susceptibility. Or the procedure on any other basis than symptom similarity results in palliation or suppression and destruction of susceptibility. So, coming to the destruction of susceptibility. Roberts mentions that the total destruction of the reactivity of the body or susceptibility means death. Partial destruction or serious impairment may render the patient a chronic invalid with the impossibility of cure. He mentions here two methods: immunization, especially passive immunization, and the use of antiseptic decreases or destroys susceptibility. So coming to immunization and susceptibility. He points out how the process of immunization, especially the passive immunization, means immunization through the administration of antibodies, can put a bad impact on susceptibility. To justify this, he quotes Professor James Wing's statements on immunity made in the year 1909, which states that the process of passive immunization can harm the organism, and suggests that the effort must be made in the future to enable the tissue and the bacteria to live together in peace rather than to produce a state where the serum is destructive to the bacteria. So ultimately, he points out that we have to increase the natural immunity, which will be beneficial for the organism rather than administering antibodies artificially. Next, he mentions regarding antiseptics. He tells another attempt to forcibly regulate body reaction is through the use of antiseptics, which is another means of destroying bacilli, but which at the same time destroys the normal susceptibility. He quotes the Boston Surgical Journal and tells that antiseptic used in cases of tonsillitis increase the inflammation, prolong the disease and retard convalescence. He explains with different other illustration and explanation how antiseptics destroys natural susceptibility. So, Roberts tells the normal process should never be interfered with because it presents the normal reaction and resistance of the vital energy, and it is nature's method of protecting the organism. So next, coming to inherited tendencies and susceptibility. Susceptibility can pass to the ancestors as inherited tendencies. Roberts says the human economy has inherited many tendencies from the accumulations of its ancestral heritage. This comes as diseases in childhood. When the susceptibility of this particular state has once been satisfied by an expression of the similar condition, no more develop the reaction to a similar infection. Next, coming to group or familial susceptibilities. There can be susceptibilities of the whole family, where a whole family becomes susceptible to certain types of diseases, whereas the neighbors remain untouched. Like that, certain racial groups also may become susceptible to some specific diseases, where one race may become very susceptible to certain diseases, but another race may remain least affected. So, this is all regarding the susceptibility chapter of Roberts' philosophy. Now, summarizing the things. Every organism that has life is more or less gets influenced by its circumstances or environment. Susceptibility can be defined as the reaction of the organism to external and internal influences. Susceptibility is an expression of a vacuum in the individual. Susceptibility varies in degree in different patients, also varies at different times in the same patient. Susceptibility is more or extreme in the childhood. Drug proving produces an artificial susceptibility. The natural or normal susceptibility gets exaggerated in the sickness. It becomes compulsory for the physician to recognize, conserve and utilize normal or natural susceptibility. Passive immunization or the use of antiseptics destroys the natural susceptibility. Susceptibility can be inherited. Also, we can get group or racial susceptibility. The most similar remedy or the simillimum satisfies the susceptibility and establishes immunity. So that's all for this video. If you have not yet subscribed to our channel Students Homeopathy, please subscribe it now. Also click on the bell icon and select all so that you will not miss any of our informative, educational and interesting videos on homeopathy. And please provide your feedback in the comment section below. Also, we will love to answer your queries on this topic. Thank you. Thank you for watching.